No, your eyes are not fooling you, everyone. I am tackling this can of worms. Say hello to episode 1 of Anita Sarkisian versus Facts.
id Software's 2004 game Doom 3 took the basic concept of their earlier Doom titles, a space marine single-handedly fighting his way through hordes of demonic abominations.
Let's just all take a moment to remember that these are supposed to be demonic abominations. Save that in your head for later, folks.
But it used the vastly improved computer graphics of its time to create a moodier, scarier tone. Along with the reimagined environments, sharper textures, and more atmospheric lighting effects, the creative team also designed some unsettling new monsters for this latest confrontation with the forces of hell. One of those new monsters was the Vagary, a monstrosity with the upper half of a naked woman and the lower half of a giant spider, who also happens to be pregnant with a demon fetus in her abdomen. It's no mistake that the Vagary blends female sexuality and fertility with elements designed to be unsettling or horrifying.
As someone with an intense fear of spiders, I have to agree. It's very horrifying, it's very creepy, it's very disgusting. Just overall, it's scary, and it works. But of course, Anita has a problem with it.
Contrary, by singling out the Vagary, the only female enemy in the game, for her gender and using this to make her uniquely repulsive, the designers were participating in a very long tradition of creating female creatures who function to demonize femaleness itself.
So basically, Anita Sarkisian is saying that because the Vagary is a female villain, it shouldn't have been depicted as being gross. Like, seriously, that's stupid. I mean, what's wrong with depicting a female villain that's disturbing to see? It's done with male characters all the time, so it's fair and it makes sense to have it done to the occasional female character. Her logic is just baffling, you know? It's, and female spiders are not the kindest of creatures in nature anyway. So why is it that she finds it so patriarchal that the Vagary is being depicted as being gross? It's like, seriously. I need an Advil. In nature, spiders, humans, horses, cows, birds, whatever, the female carries the young, or will take care of the young themselves. The only exception to this is male seahorses. Only exception. But no, because it's feminine, even though it goes with biology, basic biology, it's wrong, it's sexist.
To understand how such characters function, we actually need to venture back a few millennia, to a time when myth and folklore were part of how people interpreted and made sense of the world. Just as modern media both reflects and shapes our culture today, those ancient stories weren't simply meaningless entertainment in their own time. They reflected and reinforced cultural values. Sadly, misogyny has been part of cultures for the past few thousand years, and the myths and folktales of those cultures reflect that, with female creatures and monsters who represented beliefs that women are inherently deceptive, manipulative, or evil.
To address Anita's hinting at the witch trials in England and America that took place over centuries ago, let's read an interesting passage I found about the witchcraft in the 16th and 17th century. People believed that women, in their frustrations and struggles, would appeal to the devil in order to gain power to deal with infertility, fear for her children's well-being, or revenge against a lover. Now, it seems pretty obvious nowadays that, yes, this was a bad idea. Going around thinking that every woman on her own or doing whatever, doing something weird, was evil. That it was stupid thinking, and we admit that. It's not like we still say, well, it was a good idea, you know? We don't. No one says that. So Anita's saying that, oh, this is the cause for all of this misogyny. It's like, no, because no one thinks that anymore. No one agrees with that anymore. It's baffling to think that she's taking a topic that that everyone agrees is wrong, and saying, oh yeah, because of this, it led to the progression of what I see today. It's bullshit.
In his book Misogyny, The World's Oldest Prejudice, Jack Holland explores this through the story of Pandora from Greek mythology. The first woman, Pandora, was created by Zeus specifically to punish humanity after Prometheus stole fire from the gods. She's given a sealed jar and told to never open it, but because Zeus designed her to be evil and lacking in morals or manners, of course she does open it. By doing so, she unleashes evil into the world, dooming humankind to labor, suffering, aging, illness, and death.
The story of Pandora's box. A good one. Basically, the gods, to punish Prometheus even further for his actions, the gods create a woman to seduce his brother. And they do. It works. They get married. And as a wedding present, they hand her a box that she must never open. Well, she gets curious. Wonders what's in it. Why can't she open it? It's a wedding present. And so, night after night, for 3 nights in a row, she unlocks the box, but after feeling a pang of guilt, she refuses to open it. Until a 4th night, she unlocks it, opens it, and releases death, famine, disease, every evil of the world. But she opens it a 2nd time, and she releases hope into the world. And that is why this story is so beautiful, and Anita will never understand it. It's not about her being a woman. It's about remembering that there's always hope, no matter what's to come.
Where else have I heard a story about the first woman doing something she's not supposed to do and being responsible for all the bad things in the world?
Classic jab. Adam and Eve. What's to say? The devil, root of all evil, tricks Eve. He could have tricked Adam. He could have tricked Eve. He chose Eve. It's not that big of a deal. Why is it sexist when something bad happens to a woman? Seriously. You're choosing stories where it could have happened to a man, it could have happened to a woman. But instead, you try to make this out to be that, because it's a woman, that makes it sexist. And actually, it's not really that Eve caused all the evils in the world to be released. All she did was make humans mortal. That's about it. And I mean, that's bad, but it's not like evils, diseases, death, all that.
And in his book, The Gender Knot, Alan G. Johnson discusses the relationship between mythology and misogyny, saying the cultural expression of misogyny, the hatred of femaleness, takes many forms. It's found in ancient and modern beliefs that women are inherently evil and a primary cause of human misery. Products of what the Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras called the evil principle which created chaos, darkness, and woman.
That's actually not the case. In a lot of Greek myths, women are either forced or kind of cavorted into playing roles in the misery of men, so to speak. I mean, it's kind of how it is. Women back then were seen as sometimes as a temptation, if nothing else. Be loyal to your wife, but in a lot of stories, there's women that will be presented to our hero as a temptation, as a test of loyalty to his wife. I mean, look at the Odyssey. Odysseus is tempted many times over with beautiful women. At one point, he's tempted to stay with Calypso, but he decides he wants to return to his wife still, so he does. He slays men that would otherwise want to rape and pillage his wife and murder his son. I don't see where this inherent misogyny is in Greek mythology, if any mythology.
The equation sexy plus gross equals creepy pertains not just to the vagary, but to a whole category of characters I refer to as grotesquely female. These are characters who incorporate highly gendered or sexualized elements in ways that are specifically intended to be creepy or disgusting. Other examples of the grotesquely female include Diablo III Sedea, the Maiden of Lust who spouts dialogue in a sensual, seductive tone while also taking the form of a giant spider-woman.
I will take great pleasure in your suffering.
Sedea from Diablo 3. In the game, when you first meet Sedea, she's kind of taunting you and trying to seduce you from a distance, because she is guarding something. She is trying to protect something very valuable to her side of this war. So she's going to try to get you away from it in any way she can, and one of those ways happens to be trying to seduce you. I mean, it's worked on many other men and other people before, so she's going to try it first on you. But when that doesn't work, she does resort to violence, and I don't see why Anita finds it so wrong for her to be the way she is. She's a villain. She's not supposed to be likable. So why is it that Anita finds that wrong? I mean, what, does every female villain that uses lust, does she have to either be gorgeous, whatever, or, as we'll find out later, she finds it that, oh, because they're using their beauty as a weapon, that's wrong.
Now, of course, there's no shortage of male characters in games who are meant to elicit disgust, but the unsettling nature of those characters is not tied explicitly to their gender. They don't function to suggest that maleness itself is inherently disgusting or dangerous. With these female characters, on the other hand, their grotesque nature is inextricably tied to their gender. Elements that are often presented as titillating in other contexts are twisted and made repugnant, so that their femaleness itself is what serves to make them disgusting.
Just because female enemies have saggy boobs or demon babies coming out of the boobs doesn't mean we are correlating them directly with their gender. We're just using their body to create a really unsettling enemy. I mean, it's creepy that the third sister of Fate has boobs everywhere on her body. It's unsettling to see Cleopatra give birth via her boobs to demon babies, but we don't say that, oh yeah, it's disgusting because she's feminine, she's a woman. No, we don't say that. That's not why we find it disgusting. We find the scene itself disgusting. We find the fact that demon babies are crawling out of Cleopatra's breasts disgusting. We find the fact that just overall the third sister of Fate is grotesque. We're not tying it directly to her gender. You are tying it directly to their gender.
Exploiting women's femaleness is not always done by presenting them as repulsive. With some, it's their attractiveness or seductiveness that makes them worthy of fear, scorn, and contempt. Among the most famous female mythological creatures are the Sirens, whose voices were irresistibly alluring to men who sailed near their island and heard their songs. But the music of the Sirens was as dangerous as it was captivating, and the sailors who were seduced by the sound soon found themselves shipwrecked and stranded. Some interpretations characterize the Sirens as cannibals who murdered the shipwrecked men and feasted on their flesh.
Now yes, the Sirens only affected men, but back then, men were the only ones that sailed. Women stayed home all the time. There were no women sailors back then, or it was such a rarity that it was almost unbelievable. So the idea that, yeah, it only affected men was true. And anyway, the Sirens were companions to the goddess Persephone, the daughter of Demeter. And they were created as guards for Persephone due to Hades' attempt to woo her. But they were cursed by Demeter after Hades had abducted Persephone, and so the Siren song became a beautiful yet sad melody, thus also having the alternate effect of luring men to their doom. It's not something that curses femininity. It's a punishment for the women, if nothing else. By a woman.
In the 2010 game Mass Effect 2, players can agree to help the Asari Justicar Samara capture her daughter Morinth, a fugitive who suffers from a genetic disorder that makes mating with her deadly. When Samara confronts Morinth, players have two options: to keep their word and help Samara, or to betray and kill Samara and add Morinth to their team in her place. If players side with Morinth, she later tries to seduce Shepard with talk of the incredible ecstasy they might experience with her.
You and I can share something so intense, so deep, it will change your life.
But if players are swayed by Morinth's promises and choose to be with her, Shepard dies, just like all of Morinth's other lovers.
Yes, Morinth uses her sexuality to get what she wants, and she is unremorseful of who she kills. We find that out by just talking to her. She'll have men she seduces kill other people, and then she'll kill them by sleeping with them. She is an unremorseful person. The fact that the player would even choose to side with her is hard to believe. And yeah, to fall for her seductive charms is suicide. But this idea that, oh, she's just an example of misogyny because she's using her sexuality, and her deadly sexuality at that, as a weapon or as a tool of to get whatever she wants is absurd.
While grotesquely female characters are designed to make femaleness repugnant by blending sexuality and repulsiveness, temptresses like Morinth make femaleness threatening because of their sexuality and attractiveness. This tradition of sexualized evil women in the Temptress mold include characters ranging from the Dark Queen of the Battletoads games to Elizabeth from Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. In Hitman Absolution, if players track the target Layla to a secret room in the penthouse, she strips for Agent 47 in an attempt to distract him before drawing a gun and trying to kill him.
Layla Stockton is the personal assistant and love interest to Hitman Absolution's main villain, Blake Dexter. She makes the remark in the game that she has what it takes to stop any man, including Agent 47, and obviously she fails, but it still shows that, for the most part, she's unremorseful of who she hurts with her charms, or with whatever she does. The only time she shows any remorse is when her love interest, Blake Dexter, murders someone, and she comments that it was a little excessive. She's a villain. And as a villain, she will use whatever she can to get whatever she wants. And in this case, she will use her charm to try to stop the hero from hurting her lovely boss.
The problem with these representations is not that they depict female characters who are sexual, it's the way that sexuality is presented, as a threat or a weapon rather than as something to be enjoyed by these women and those they choose to consensually share it with. It's a false notion of female sexuality rooted in ancient misogynistic ideas about women as deceptive and evil.
That's the thing. These women are showing in these games that most of the time they enjoy hurting people with their seductive charms. They enjoy, using their sexuality as a weapon. So who are you to say that, they don't enjoy it, even when the game shows them enjoying using their charms when they can?
DMC features a scene in which Dante confronts Lilith, a character whose sexualization is intended to be unsettling rather than titillating, as if she thinks she's sexually appealing while the player is meant to find her unattractive. Lilith then undergoes a horrifying transformation as the demon spawn she's carrying inside of her emerges to fight Dante.
Lilith is similar to Layla from Hitman Absolution. They both are rabidly attracted to, and probably have had rampant sexual relations with, their boss. But in Lilith's case, she's also bearing a demon child, which Dante has to fight. And yes, we don't kill her, we don't directly kill them. We beat them up a little. It's Virgil that shoots and kills Lilith, but still, it's not their sexuality that's on point. Yes, Lilith tries to be sexual at first, but she never tries to do it at Dante. She's always kind of fawning over Mundus, and thus there's no reason to, say that she's trying to be sexually attractive to anyone. And yeah, her sexuality is trying to be unnerving, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, would you seriously be attracted to someone who has to pull their skin back? I mean, seriously.
Their femaleness or sexuality is an intrinsic part of what is intended to make them dangerous or repulsive. As a result, when male heroes defeat them, their victory is often explicitly gendered, emphasizing that the male protagonist has overcome the female threat and reinserted his dominance and control. This can be as simple as the use of gendered slurs, as in Gears of War 3 when Marcus Phoenix stabs and kills the Locust Queen.
And everyone else you killed, you bitch.
So Anita's claiming that using the word bitch, calling someone a bitch, someone that in Gears of War 3 caused the deaths of millions of people, levied countless cities, and killed, I think, practically all of Marcus Phoenix's friends and buddies. I wouldn't blame him for at least calling her a bitch when he stabs her. I would. Anyone would. Anita probably would if she was in his boots. I mean, it's not sexist to have a woman basically, start murdering your friends and then call him a bitch for it. It's not wrong. It's like if a man started murdering my best friend or my family and it was like, You asshole! You fucking asshole! That would be a logical response. But no, because it's a woman, it can't be a response. We have to keep it gender neutral. Because we can't hurt their feels.
Or it can be graphically sexual, as in the killing of Cleopatra in Dante's Inferno. Or in this boss fight in Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, which ends with the protagonist impaling the vampire through the mouth.
In the case of Carmilla from Castlevania Lords of Shadow 1 and 2, she's actually a complex character, and so what? She gets impaled through the mouth. It kills her. And actually, that's not even the real her. It's actually some, like, echo of her. Because the real her actually gets impaled in the heart with a stake in Lords of Shadow 1. So, in any case, it's actually a rather gruesome end, actually, compared to, being impaled just, like, in the heart or something. Just saying, it's kind of a gruesome end. Not that big of a deal. Wouldn't really call it sexist. It's convenient for placement, but yeah.
Yeah. Of course, it's entirely possible to have female villains who don't reinforce the idea that female sexuality or femaleness itself is threatening or repulsive.
Okay, she doesn't seem to get it. These characters don't make femaleness the issue. They are characters that are using whatever they have at their disposal to get what they want. In Him and Absolution, she's trying to seduce him to kill him. She's trying to distract him long enough so she can pull a gun and kill him. In Brothers, she's in both Brothers and in Doom 3, the half spider, half woman is trying to kill our protagonists. So they're not. The games aren't saying, well, femininity is bad. Femininity and women are just horrible. They're not. They're just women that are characterized to use whatever they have. In real life, women, if they were given the choice, would probably use their sexuality as a weapon. It's just common sense that you use whatever you can on hand. You have a stick or a knife. Well, I'm going to use the knife first. Men don't have that problem because we don't really have to extrude our sexuality as much. And women's sexuality is a lot more apparent, usually, than men's. But these women aren't trying to denounce sexuality or denounce femininity. They're just women that are using whatever they have at their disposal.
In Knights of the Old Republic 2, Kreia is a richly developed and complex villain whose evil is not tied to her gender. In the Portal games, the malicious AI GLaDOS' obsession with taunting and killing the protagonist is presented in a smart, engaging way that doesn't reinforce misogynistic ideas about women as a whole.
None of the previously mentioned characters, before both Kreia and GLaDOS, are, promoting misogynistic stereotypes. They're not. They are about as misogynistic as Kreia and GLaDOS. Kreia is a well-developed character. Fantastic character. One of my personal favorites in that game. And GLaDOS is also, personally, my favorite character in Portal, and Portal 2. And they are both well-done characters with great personality. And yes, they don't use their sexuality as a weapon. Granted, one is a Sith Lord and the other's a robot, or AI. So I really don't expect them to use their sexuality as much for a weapon. But other women will. In real life, women will use their sexuality as a weapon if they can, or if they need to, or if they want to. It's just how the world works, But apparently Anita doesn't understand that. And it's giving me a headache.
The Enrichment Center once again reminds you that Android Hell is a real place where you will be sent at the first sign of defiance.
And no list of cool female villains from games is complete without the dashing criminal mastermind Carmen Sandiego. These representations are often defended because they're rooted in storytelling traditions that date back for thousands of years. But for as long as it has existed, misogyny has been reinforced by the stories that cultures have told themselves. Myths, legend, folktales, and religious teachings have been used as tools to contribute to the oppression of women for millennia.
Now, I will be the first one to admit that a lot of ancient myths tended to have, and a lot of ancient cultures tended to be rooted in tended to hold some rather misogynistic beliefs. But we evolved and we got past that. And a lot of the stories that are told, especially the ones that are still told today, are more cautionary tales of not going alone, like not going into some stranger's house, like Hansel and Gretel. Simple tales that warn you to not be completely trusting in a good manner. And just because the character happens to be a woman doesn't make it misogynistic. She thinks that, because it's warning you against the dangers of women, or it's using a woman as a example, or as a specific anecdote, it means that, we can't. It means it hates women. The inhumanity. She doesn't understand that stories are used to tell morals. Be careful what you wish for. Look twice while crossing the road. Stuff like that. Things that we need to know and need to understand, otherwise it'd be really hard to live a life. But she doesn't get that. She is associating these things with misogynistic views that are held today by a slim minority, and don't correlate with what these developers are trying to tell us. An example is id. They explained that the way they got the Valkyrie was sexy plus gross equals cool. And basically, taking something relatively attractive, a topless woman, and putting it on top of a spider, although as examples here, it's been done over and over, it's still a good formula, because it's something that most men will find attractive at first, but then when they realize there's a spider, it's half spider, they're not going to find that attractive. It plays on our expectations. It's why a lot of female characters that happen to be monsters will at first look rather beautiful, but then drastically change in appearance, because it plays on the player's expectations.
Games today uncritically employ such representations. They aren't tapping into some intrinsic truth of human existence. They're doing what stories involving such characters have always done, perpetuating false notions that women are inherently misleading and manipulative, and that female sexuality is something to be shamed, feared, and controlled. Those ideas were harmful 2,800 years ago, and they're still harmful today.
Anita is somewhat right. Ideas that perpetuate that femininity and women need to be controlled or held down, held back, whatever, those are dangerous and wrong. But to our credit, those aren't really held today. The only place you really will find those ideas, Anita, is in the Middle East, where rampant misogyny still exists. But you can't be bothered for that. No, you have to focus on video games that happen to have a half spider, half naked woman. But in summary, basically, Anita doesn't understand the idea that not all female villains are going to be simply pretty. No. There will be female villains that will be gross and sexy at the same time, or their sexuality will be somewhat unsettling to see. But it shouldn't be this big deal that because, from DMC, Lilith looks like her skin's been wrapped around her body 3 or 4 times. That doesn't make it misogynistic. If she were to, be portrayed as someone who is trying to do something with her sexuality, like something normal, and she's being harassed or, told not to do it, that would make it misogynistic. But it's not. That's not what's happening. Well, anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed this. I know I didn't. Well, okay, I enjoyed making this, but story for another time. Anyway, please like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies too. Well, have a good day. See you later.